Good morning to everyone and welcome to today's HSbooster training session. This is our last training in 2023 and I'm pleased to announce our today's topic, role of national standardization bodies and identifying gaps in the current standards. Thank you for your time and willingness to spend it with us. I'm Ivana Mijatovic. I'm the lead of HSbooster Training Academy, and I'm honored today to introduce to you our trainers, Barry Cox and Sweta Malik. Barry Cox is the standard officer with the National Standards Authority of Ireland, which is Ireland's official national standardization body. Barry manages a portfolio of manufacturing technical committees, and he's also tasked with promoting Irish participation in developing international and European standards in emerging technologies such as additive manufacturing, industrial robots, energy management, energy saving, and nanotechnologies. Barry is also a strong believer in teamwork. He is inspired by Henry Ford's motto, "Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." Our next trainer is Dr. Sweta Malik. She's currently postdoctoral researcher at University College of Dublin with Energy Institute. She completed her PhD in peer-to-peer energy trading from Insight Centre for Data Analytics at University of Galway. Her work in local energy markets earned her the prestigious Young Researchers Award by CEN and CENELEC. During her PhD, Dr. Malik began her foray into world of standards through her involvement with National Standards Authority of Ireland, NSAI, and her expertise and contribution into the field have led her to become an active member of various technical committees, subcommittees, and working groups in the International Electrotechnical Commission. In 2022, she represented Ireland as a young professional at the IEC meeting in San Francisco. Please allow me to say a few words about today's training. So the HSbooster Training Series Standardization in Practice aim to bring European National Standardization Bodies activities closer to researchers. So through various topics related to researchers' activities and training session of this series, we intend to introduce the work of national standardization bodies and provide some answers of how national standardization bodies can support researchers. So in general, one country can have many organizations that develop standards or participate in standard development. However, only one organization can represent a national interest in regional and international organizations for standardization. That organization is National Standards Body or National Standardization Body. So, as countries and their industry are not at the same level of development, some countries have one national organization for standardization that performs all activities, and in contrast, other can have several organizations that develop standards, but some on the other side, what we have to be clear that the best way to participate in European and international standardization, formal, let's say, standardization process is through national standardization bodies. This training session aims to explain the role of national standardization bodies based on the case of National Standardization Body of Ireland. And I'm looking forward to hearing what today trainers have to say. A recorded version of this webinar will be available as soon as possible at HSbooster Training Academy portal, and all participants will receive information about that. We would like to hear from you, and during the training you can write your question in Q&A session. And if you have if you want to share any information, you can use our chat box. And I would like to announce Barry Cox. Barry, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ivana. Thank you for that great introduction there. Brilliant. It's great to be here today. I'll just share my screen. Here we go. So, as Ivana was saying, my name is Barry Cox. I am a standards officer with the National Standards Authority of Ireland. So here we have an event here at the background. This was an industrial event, and as part of my job as a standards officer, we organised this and had a stand where we met with both external and external stakeholders, where we talked about the importance of standards and engage with them and trying talk about the importance of standards. And one of the most important things at the moment for everyone is that the UN sustainability goals and standards play into that. So standards support the Sustainable Development Goals, which aim to transform our world. They are a call to action to end poverty and inequality, to protect the planet and ensure that all people enjoy health, justice and prosperity. So not many people know that each new standard is linked to at least one of these goals. This is very important for researchers as well, if they're planning on new standardization activities, to link it to one of these UN SDG goals. Now, my role as well is talking about the importance of standards. So standards are very, very important from this morning, from the clothes we put on this morning, to plugging in our kettle to make our morning cup of coffee, to putting fuel in our car today. Standards affected every part of our day so far, and not many people realize that. So I always talk about the importance of that. I'm also asked as well, what do I do as a standards officer? What is my job? Well, as a standards officer, my job is to manage experts. The experts give their time freely to this, and my job is to ensure that they have the right information. They know exactly what's going on. They have everything they need. And they may not be experts at the standardization process. That's my role, but they are the expert when it comes to the field. And my role is to make sure that their voice is heard at a European and international level. So I manage a number of committees: a consultative committee, a additive manufacturing committee, a robotics committee, and a safety of machinery committee. So in that, my role is to support Ireland's national strategy, Industry 4.0, to advise NSAI on the CEN ballots after consulting with my committee members. I raise awareness and understanding of the new machinery regulation and the importance of it and the new requirements that are going to be in it, and talk to businesses about it and what they need to know. I also assist on prioritizing new work areas through the EU high-level forum for standardization. At another level, through the additive manufacturing, we want one world, one standard. So ASTM, ISO, and CEN are coming together to develop standards, and my job is to promote the great work that they're doing to the Irish experts and researchers, so they can build upon all the knowledge that is in the standards, because we have experts working in the field for the past 40 years. We have researchers who are at the top of their field, all feeding into these standards. And my job is to get all that information out there to the researchers and wider community. As part of that, the EU Commission Annual Union Work Programme has feeded into this type of work, where it's recognised that in this field, we're going to need some new standards, which I'll talk about later. And then standards also have the potential to revolutionise different industry. For example, additive manufacturing has the potential to revolutionise the prosthetic industry, making it better for all stakeholders. And then I'm always trying to find further use cases of technology. And I think one of the best ones now in the current field is using additive manufacturing for construction. For my robotics committee, it kind of feeds into Shaping Digital Europe, which promotes safer working through robotics. I'm also contributing to harmonized standards, which are helping SMEs and researchers have a presumption of conformity to the machinery regulation and machinery directive. And I'm lucky enough to work with some really good researchers. One of the researchers from UCD worked on the Project Sherlock, and my role was assisting him with the current standardization activities, promoting standards that he can use for his research, and providing him with the ability to put that research in votes and make comments to standards as they progress at a European and international level. And robots as well can improve worker safety by doing work that is especially dangerous and repetitive, and promoting better health and safety for the worker. And then I have another committee for safety machinery. So at the moment, they're revising key standards used to show presumption of conformity by SMEs to the machinery directive. And the machinery regulation is going to come out now in a few years, and it's all about preparing for that, making sure that SMEs and industry know what's coming down the track. They can prepare for it now, so there's not a big rush for it at the end. And I'm always training Irish experts and helping them, prepare for meetings and attend meetings and participate at meetings on an international level for a few reasons: for the ability to talk to people, for that networking, to get the information out, to progress the research they're doing. And I'm also following changes in machinery regulation, and I'm trying to keep just one webinar ahead of my experts and give them the information that they need. So that's my role. So then it comes, what I want you to get from today is NSAI's role, the standards development process, the national development process. That standards, the bigger picture of standards, that standards support European policy, they support government policy, they support the European Commission Work Programme for Standardization, they support European Horizon Europe projects, standardization is deliverable, SDO liaisons, how to kick off standardization work, the resources we have, and I'm lucky as well to talk about a great use case of Irish research. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So NSAI's role, the role of the National Standards Bodies. We have committees for everything you can think of, for ICT, advanced manufacturing, healthcare, energy sustainability, food, construction, services, and business processing. And what happens is we have a platform and a committee, which is we try to make up from industry, academia, governments, citizen society, to represent Ireland and give Ireland one voice. And they would feed into standardization work at a national level, where sometimes you write national standards. We follow the work at a European level through CEN and CENELEC, or at an international level through ISO, the International Organisation for Standardization. So my job would be to let the committee members know about different work items that are going through, different items of importance, give them the bigger picture of research in the area, give them the bigger picture of the legislation, different national policies that they can comment on, and spread the good word of standardization. And that is NSAI's role, to connect and facilitate. And that's part of my role as well, to facilitate and give experts what they need when they need it, and spread the good word on standards and how important it is. So this is just the development process which you need to be aware of at the ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, because we're hoping to get one world, one standard, and there's different agreements between the international standard organizations and the European one where they don't duplicate work. So a lot of work progressing at the moment is at an international level, and then it's adopted at a European level by the European Standardization Bodies, CEN and CENELEC. But what you need to be aware of is standards take a long period of time. They can be 2 to 3 years in development of a standard. So we have our proposal stage, where anyone who is a member of a working group can propose a standard, and they start on the work where it would come out on our national platform. We'll call committee meetings, engage with our stakeholders, and we discuss about the importance of the ballot. We would get comments, we'd go through the comments, we'd resolve them, we'd make sure that Ireland's voice is represented, that both stakeholders, including the researchers, the regulator, academia, that everyone's voice is heard and consensus is reached. Then we have inquiry, where it goes out for public inquiry through our Your Standards, Your Say, which is our national platform, where anyone in Ireland can comment on standard. Finally, then we've approval, where you can't make any technical changes, and then it goes out for publication. So that's what you need to be aware of if you're thinking of engaging with standards. It is a long process. It can take 2 to 3 years to develop a standard. At a national level, how are standards made? Well, experts that are on our national committees, they would see the need for a standard. to make a proposal with us, we would look and see who the stakeholders are engaged with. Is it linking with national policy? Is it linking with UN sustainability goals? Is it value? Is it going to be value for the taxpayer because we're funded by the government? So it's going to cost a lot of investment to generate it. So is there going to be that return on it? Will companies buy it? Will they use it? Will increase KPIs for SMEs? What is the good of it? So it has to go to NSAI management for approval. It has to go to our board, and then it has to go to our parents' department as well. And then what happens is once we get approval for all that, the committee develops a new standard where we meet, we discuss it, we have various reiterations of it, revisions. We give everyone a chance to go through it, to read documents, to have meetings. The draft then is submitted out for public inquiry. Once the committee is happy enough, then we come back from public comments, we analyze all the comments, we update the drafts, and then the standard is ready to be published. It's put up on our website and is reviewed every 3 to 5 years because we like to keep standards cutting edge and current. As part of my role in NSB, I have to be aware of the bigger picture for standards. So we tie into European policies such as the new European Innovation Agenda, which aims to develop a new wave of DTAP innovation and startups, building on Europe's entrepreneurial mindset, scientific excellence, the strength of the single market and democratic societies. It will improve access to finance and framework conditions for innovation. It will strengthen and better connect innovation players across Europe and attract and retain talent in Europe. So both at a national, European and international level, we have to be aware of the bigger picture and look out for the new policies coming from Europe and find how standards fit into it, and also comment and make sure standards are included in it. So likewise, standards on the EU Innovation Agenda, the new European Innovation Agenda recognizes the value for standardization. It calls out standardization in it, whereby I can see there the infrastructures and experience exchange of staff, training skills developments, and developing standards and regulations through sandboxes and test beds. This is one example of where the European Commission has recognized the importance of standards and how it ties into regulations and national policy and European policy and the benefits it has for everyone for promoting European values and keeping Europe an attractive place for doing business. And this feeds in at a national level to Ireland's research and innovation strategy, where it calls out a series of standards, new ISO standards for 56,000, which is all about innovation, and they're developed by global innovation experts. And the National Standards Authority of Ireland help membership of our national committee, and we allow our experts and give them permission to represent Ireland and attend these international meetings, whereby they are shaping these new standards for innovation, which will help strengthen SMEs across Europe. And then we look more at government policy. So we have the Research and Innovation, the Impact 2030, which is Ireland's research and innovation strategy. The policy will position research and innovation at the heart of addressing Ireland's social, economic, and environmental changes. It will maximise the impact of research and innovation on many national priorities. It will improve cohesion across stakeholders and progress objectives shared across the Irish research and innovation system. So I would go off through colleges and talk about standards, talk about where the standards fit into Ireland's research and innovation strategy, how they can be used rather than researchers rebuilding the wheel and reinventing the wheel, and how experts are putting 40 years their career knowledge into standards and their great knowledge valorization tool. And that's when I go around and talk about and encourage research to get involved in standardization and committees. And then it gives an example as well. The National Standards Authority of Ireland will have strength in innovation management, especially in SMEs across Ireland, and that is through the engagement of experts through our national merit committees. And that's my job as well, to facilitate the experts and allow them to do this good work by feeding to standards. And not many people are aware that there's a lot of standards for innovation. These are some at the moment, and there are more to come. And not many people notice. It seems that standardization and standards are best kept secret. So my job is promoting all this good work that's being done by national experts feeding in to ISO, generating these. And the Irish experts and researchers are given their time. They're reading the documents in their own time and commenting on it. So I have to value each and every one of their comments. They're reviewed by the committee. I make sure that consensus is achieved, and then I ensure that they go to the ISO working group and get reviewed by the experts and get treated with the respect that they deserve. And hopefully they'll be accepted by the committee and their work will go into standards. And it's great when I'm in committee meetings and seeing the faces of the experts when they point out a word and say, see that word there? I commented, I got that word into a standard. And they go running off. That is one of the highlights of the day. Also, standards are becoming very, very important. Even Forbes are writing about standards. That's how cutting edge and cool they're becoming. So Forbes talked about ISO 56001, which is an upcoming requirement standard for innovation management. And it has the potential to revolutionize innovation for the past 20 years. And it feeds into the national innovation strategy. And also, hopefully, my job is to promote this to SMEs, to researchers, so they use these standards, and we will improve our scorecard in the European Innovation Scoreboard and make Ireland a more attractive place. And we have members from a lot of our departments, trade and employment, intellectual property, the Department of Public Expenditure Reform, recognizing our importance, sitting on our committees and spreading the good word about standards. And at a European level is the European Commission. The European Commission has a work program, and another role that NSAI has is to feed into this and help prioritize and identify standardization needs, standardization gaps, to help researchers, to help SMEs. So each year, the European Commission publicizes the Annual Union Work Program and lays down the Commission's intention to use standards in support of new existing legislation and policies and mandate the development of new standardization deliverables. And I promote this and get more researchers, SMEs, and experts involved in it. So here we go. The Annual Union Work Program for 2023. Number 5 was cybersecurity. As we all know, cybersecurity is big. We get, especially this time of year, we get all the messages as well on our phones and emails, and there's a lot of hacking going on. The phishing exercises, so that's recognized, and the European Commission wants to create a safer Europe, create safer products. So they're looking for cybersecurity requirements for products with digital elements, with a main objective for developing secure products with digital elements by ensuring that hardware and software products placed on the market with fewer vulnerabilities and ensure that the manufacturers take security seriously. And we would have national committees that would follow the standardization work and feed into it so that any new requirements manufacturers are aware of it, and SMEs, so when it comes to placing it on the market, they're ready to go. And I want to talk to you, one of our roles as well as a standards officer is to look at the European projects and look at research being done in Ireland and see that they're using standards and the benefits of it. So Project Amaze, the overarching goal of it was to rapidly produce large defect-freely additive manufacturing metallic components up to 2 meters in size, ideally with close to zero waste, for use in high sectors, namely aeronautics, space, automotive, nuclear fission, tooling. So this project was able to save manufacturing costs by 50%, and improve the dimensional accuracy by 25%, reduce waste to less than 5%. It was great to see that one of the objectives as well was to support the development of standards. And it had so many different stakeholders, from Volvo, from Airbus, from Rinshaw, from the European Space Agency, and they all came together. And in it, they generated some great results. They formed a liaison with ISO, and they were able to create a new technical reports out of manufacturing of metals, non-destructive testing and evaluation, defect detection in parts. So as part of their European project, they looked at the standards that were out there, and they built upon the standards that are out there. They recognized the need for it, and they formed a liaison, and it was absolutely brilliant seeing their results come into standards. So here we go. The cause and effects of a number of AM flaws have been reported in the European project Amaze, and gave examples of the mechanisms with which these flaws are granted, and those mechanisms. So the research came into it, and they helped develop a technical report, which helps industry, which helps further research in the area, and it's absolutely brilliant. And it's great to see as a deliverable standards in these European funded projects. It was funded, and the funding was put in because of the work it was doing at standards. So there's a few more projects as well, and they're recognizing the importance of standardization as deliverables. We have 4D Hybrid, we have DemoFrect, and we have eFactory. And each of these, as part of deliverable, when they went in for funding for the projects, they had a deliverable to do with regulatory alignment, compliance with standards, they had standardization strategy reporting, they had final reports on dissemination, industry promotion, standards activities. And here we go, there's all the standards listed in it, to serve as a guide for eFactory partners on the most related standards published and under development and regulations with impact on the successful operation and tasks and technical deliverables of the projects. So here we go. It's been recognized more and more in different projects. So these are all the different projects now that are coming and forming liaisons with ISO and getting the research out there into standards deliverables. It may not be a full standard. There's other options there. It could be a technical report, could be a technical specification. There's public available specifications. It doesn't have to be a standard, but it's just great seeing researchers and Horizon Europe recognizing the importance of standards, using standards, and feed into further developments. So to kick off standardization work, well, I would spend a lot of time and think about, does it need to be a standard? Because there's other ones there for you. Can it be a technical report, which is purely informative in nature, or a technical specification, which is like a pre-standard? And for developing each of these, it doesn't take 2 to 3 years. So what I go and look at as well is go and see, is there a technical committee in this area? Have you reached out to them? Have you spoke to them? Are they aware of your work? I will link the new deliverable to the National European Policy, which was talking about earlier, talking about the Annual Union Work Programme, SDG goals. These are all brilliant things to link your research to and your deliverable to in order to get funding, in order to generate standards. I would look for a lot of support from SMEs, from manufacturers on the project. I would look and see, is there funding? There's a lot of funding out there for research at a European level. I'd identify all the stakeholders, come up with a project plan, and then you can also contact your national standards body, as we're here to help you and help to facilitate this work. And if there's a need, and can create a good business case, then your standards, your research can feed into a standard. The European Commission has also recognized the importance of standards in research, and they have generated a code of practice on standardization to develop a standardization policy, to consider standardization in the career development plans, to provide education and training on standardization, to make technology transfer offices fit for standardization, and to develop an indicator and evaluation system. So it's great at a European Commission level that they have produced this year, a code of practice on standardization and the European research area, with the link there at the slide. And this is great to give you tips and tricks on how to incorporate standards into your research. So resources, I have some resources here that I will, that are free to download and that may help you in your research. So there is a sectoral study of standards in manufacturing that's free to download on this link. And it, again, it makes that bigger picture. It tells you about where the manufacturing is in that area, the different regulations that are coming down the field, what you need to know, the different policies. It goes through 11 technologies that are revolutionizing the manufacturing industry. It talks through them, it explains them, it makes some links with standards that are important, that should be used in any research in that field. And then at the end of it, there is an appendix where it has all the different committees, both at an ISO level, at a European level, that are generating new technologies and doing great work in the manufacturing field. You can read about it as well. You can read the scope of these committees. You can click on the links then and see the standards they're developing. It's a really, really good guide, and it took a lot of time to make and come together. Some of the information is out of date at the moment, but all the links are there, and you can click on it, and it brings you to different sites to show you the current standardization landscape. We also have one to do with additive manufacturing, because as you know, additive manufacturing is quite important at the moment, especially when it comes to the advantages of it, which are customs, a lot of custom products. especially when it comes to prosthesis and things like that, to reducing energy usage. Because rather than having one part and cutting out from it, it's adding layer upon layer upon layer. So reducing waste, reducing energy. And in some instances, you only need one machine rather than 2 or 3. There's another really good project, the Stand ICT. So they have done landscape reports on different technology. So there's one for landscape of AI standards. That's going to be very important, especially with the EU AI Act, which was signed, I think, just this week or last week it came in. And then we have landscape of Internet of Things, IoT standards. That's going to be really, really important as well. Landscape of the digital twin. Digital twins are quite big now. There's going to be digital twins of everything in a few years' time, even a digital twin of myself. And then we have landscape of digital product passport. The product passport is going to follow the product throughout its life cycle, and it's going to hold all the information of it and help with the European Green Deal and help with sustainability and recycling and how to repair and tracing of it and better use of materials. I want to talk to you about this great use case. So there's an SME in Ireland, and I was looking at digitizing and upskilling. So it spoke to a parent department. It got a grant. There are many grants in Ireland. There is through Enterprise Ireland, the Disruptive Technology Innovation Fund. There's the Digitalization Fund. There's innovation vouchers. And this company, Atlantic Prosthetic Orthopedic Services, spoke with IMR, the Irish Manufacturing Research Centre, and through them they came up with a better way of custom making prosthesis shins, which you can see there in the picture. They're able to 3D scan a patient's limb, produce a CAD file, and adequately manufacture it that would fit better and be more comfortable. So standards have that effect as well to not only feed into the government's policy, but also they're affecting people's lives on a daily basis, especially people when they may need it. So that's my role as well, to promote the use of it in researchers, so that when SMEs join up with these research centres, they get a result that is sustainable, that's marketable, and that can be used and built upon. So below, these are the standards that are used throughout the project. We have overview of data processing. We have manufacturing processing, support qualifications of machines. We have standard support and risk control activities, and we have coordinate system and test methodologies. So Atlantic Prosthesis and Orthopedic Services and Irish Manufacturing Researchers collaborated to develop a digital workflow for computer-aided design and additive manufacturing for prosthetic sockets from scanned patient data. In this collaboration, standardization management system, manufacturing specifications, test methods, and project specifications were all leveraged to develop the body of evidence that allowed doctors to sign off on patient matched medical devices. So again, this is a really nice use case of how researchers are using standards, incorporating them into the research, building a very nice product and affecting people's lives. So that is brilliant. So standards were identified and leveraged to determine measurable, critical to quality design that enabled this innovation. Now, the things that I want you to take away from it is standards are a part of your research. By contacting and joining a national standards body, you can see standards as they develop. You can be part of the standard as it develops, and national standards bodies are here to help you. So as a role as a standards officer, I project manager these committees. I ensure that they know what standards are coming up. I ensure that they have the ability to feed into these standards, that they're aware of the ballots. I sit down with them and give them my time that they can feed into it, comment to it. When it comes out to public comments of certain standards, I would highlight it to different researchers, different research institutes. I put it up there. I coordinate with the PR team, public relations. I get it out there on LinkedIn, get it out there on Twitter. I go around as well and give lectures and ensure that researchers are aware of these standards. They can comment on them, they can use them. They don't have to spend time reinventing the wheel. There are experts out there with 40 years experience, and they are putting that experience into these standards. And it's open there as a great knowledge transfer tool for people to use to build upon to improve things, to improve on systems. Standards are always state of the art, and they are reviewed every 3 to 5 years. The national standards bodies are here to help you. So in order for you to get involved, to generate standards at a European or ISO level, you have to contact your national standards body, you have to reach out to them, you have to get involved. I would go in and I would give time for yourself to be aware of the standardization process, to be familiar with it, to be happy with it, before going at a European level and trying to get your research work out there. Standards have their own lingo. We have our own acronyms. It's a new language, it's a new way of doing things. So any researchers who are using standards, definitely contact us, get involved, but be patient. It is a long process to get research into standards, but it's well worth it. The connections you make, the knowledge learned, the whole experience, and then it's worth it at the end of the day. And it's great seeing our experts when they get word into standards and they get that printed copy and they rush off home to show their family and friends and publicize it, and then to have that legacy. It's an absolute brilliant thing, and it's great to be a part. I think it's one of the best jobs in the world to have, to be here, to talk about standards, to be able to help society with the standards linked to the UN sustainability goals, for researchers to use, to build upon the great work of others, to stand other people's soldiers. And next of all, Sweta is going to talk about her role and what she's accomplished using standards and identifying gaps. And it's absolutely great having to work with her. It's great that she won the CEN and CENELEC Innovation Award for the great work she's doing. And it's one of the main reasons I'm here today. I want to give a platform to her and to researchers as well for the great work that they're doing in helping society, in helping people, and helping improve Ireland, and helping it be a more attractive place for SMEs, for people to come invest, for people to research. So I just want to give a thank you to researchers on the call, to researchers who are in the labs, who are using these standards, building better solutions. So thank you to them. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Barry. I will share my screen now. I would like to, we could ask a question. I would like to ask our audience to go to menti.com and use the code you can hopefully see on my screen, or scan the QR code. The code is 23266776, and answer the question, what kind of support from NSBs would be beneficial for your research project? I'm going to read the code one more time. 23266776. Okay. We have several answers. To find adequate standards, provide standards landscape, to help us get involved in standards committees, to provide access to data, help us find relevant standards, help us understand standards more. Okay, Barry, maybe do you want to comment?
I think that's great. I think that captures what I tried to do. Definitely try to provide access to data. If you become a member of one of my committees, you'll get emails weekly from me. You'll get sick of hearing from me, because I try and keep that one webinar ahead, that one Forbes article, that one McKinsey article, you know, so you can have the latest, you can read it, you can put it into research and put your research into standards. So I think those are absolutely brilliant responses. And thank you for responding, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Sweta, the floor is yours.
Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes,
We can see.
Perfect. Thank you, Barry, first of all, for your kind words, and thank you, Ivana, for the introduction. So, hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Sweta Malik, and I'm a senior power system researcher at UCD Dublin, Ireland. I'm working on a project called Nexus there. In today's presentation, I will be discussing on how to identify gaps in the current standards. This is the work that I did during my PhD at University of Galway, and I had huge help from National Standards Authority for Ireland as I was a active member of their technical committees there. So let's start with the presentation now. Why do researchers need standards? First of all, beyond publications and patents, researchers, most of the time, we focus on publishing journal papers, conference papers, patents. But standards disseminate knowledge and represents the cutting edge in science, technologies, and various methodology. By using standards in our research, we can also utilize funded research. When we are writing our proposals, if we include the standards in it, it will incorporate more funded research using standards, and it will enhance utility and adoption of it by using practical application enhancement, which is the third point here. When we are using standards in our research, it will optimize the real world usability of these findings. We researchers either have our products, our successful products, or the services. So by using these standards, again, we'll be able to have knowledge and product commercializations. We'll be able to transform our research and technology insights into commercial successful products and services. Next is wider dissemination and use. When we are able to have a successful product or a service, then we'll be able to wider the usage of it. We'll be able to practical use of our discoveries. We'll not be able to restrict ourselves to only our research paper, but also reach out to our national standard bodies, participates in the standards as well. Next is building prestige, which will help us elevating stature and acknowledgement with the academic and professional communities. Fostering collaborative networks by being a part of standards organization will be able to connect with other peers who are working in the same area. Industry experts who can actually use our research and enhance their product or services, and other stakeholders, which will also help us to identify the gaps in our research and the gaps in the standards, and it will spark the future research and innovative ventures. And last is inclusive rulemaking. It will ensure that the development of regulations for future research involves all relevant participants. When I say all relevant participants, that only does not include researcher, that includes all stakeholders like industry, policymakers, government, etc. Next is tiered approach. Tiered approach is standardization, innovation, and research. This approach was given by CEN and CENELEC, where it starts with identifying new area. In this identification, we start by screening the existing standards and what are the needs of the standard, if that area already have an existing standard or not. If not, we can have drafting programs and proposals where we can use standardization as a selection criteria. We can even perform projects in it by identifying standardization potential of project results. Next is standards and standardization as transfer channel. When we are using standards and standardization as transfer channel, we'll be able to implement these project results and evaluate these programs and projects. What are the needs? So if I'm a researcher and I want to implement standardization in my project, first I'll be starting with my starting point of my project. I have a starting point. How can standardization contribute when I'm starting a research project or when I'm writing a research proposal? Standards will be able to have as a state of art for industrial and societal practices. I'll be able to include these standards, existing standards, and I'll be able to tell the scope in the proposals, or I'll be able to identify the scope of work that can be done when I'm doing my research. Next is to ensure methodology robustness, improve the quality that I'm doing, and ensure broad applicability of our result from our projects. So how will this implement? How will this help standardization? Is by ensuring compatibility of our results and what is already in the market. When we know what is the compatibility and what is already there in the market, or what are the already existing standards in the market, we'll be able to identify the missing link, and our research will be more practical based. Second is comply with recognized test methods, health and safety requirements. When we use standards in our results, which is the existing standards, we'll be able to comply with the recognized test methods which are already published. How will this help in our research and innovation project? There will be a task related to screening of existing standards, and second, a standardization partner or a subcontractor, which can be included in our research project or our proposals. Next is, if my need is I already have a project and I want to increase the impact of it, I'll be able to give the access to discuss and promote the project with other stakeholders and potential customers. By doing some surveys, interviews, and talking to other stakeholders, I'll be able to see how my project will have more impact into the society. Next is long-term dissemination of our results. It will help in relevant range of European or worldwide stakeholders. We'll be able to identify whether our research product or our research service is specifically for European level or worldwide stakeholders, and we can choose the standards, European-based standards or worldwide standards accordingly. And to ensure more market acceptance of our project it will help by ensuring that our project results are known and it is used by market beyond the duration of your project. Even if your project is completed, it will be used by other stakeholders in the market. And for this, what should I include in my research and innovation project? I should have a task which is contributing to these new standards and a standardization partner or a subcontractor. Let's go point-wise that how can we identify these gaps in current standards. Number one is doing a comprehensive literature review. As we were talking, we can start by reading already existing standardization and understand what are the advancements in these standards. So we'll be able to find how the standards also develop. So you can actually see the previous standards as well and see how they have developed over time. What are the changes they made? And then we can have a comparative analysis where you compare the standards with others in the similar domain. For example, I'm a researcher who works in electricity market. So electricity market will not be connected only to one domain, but other domains as well. Electricity market can have a single technical committee or a subcommittee, but it will always be connected with others such as distributed energy resources or electric vehicles or solar rooftop. So we need to find a link between other standards as well, and then we can have a comparative analysis of those. Third is academic and technical publication, starting with academic journals, technical reports, and conference proceedings. We can actually publish our gaps, and then we can have innovative scan where we can systematically scan what are the new innovations and technologies. So you know the existing standards now. And next part is to have what are the new systems, what are the new technologies that are present now and which are not covered by the existing standards. So here you can find the missing link. This includes by reviewing patents, attending industry conferences, and participating in technical forums, and of course, by participating in technical committees, subcommittees by your national standard body. And the last is technical adoption. When we know there are new innovations and technologies, we can actually implement them in standards. We can talk about it with our national standards body, and then we can help with the rate of change in it. So for doing this literature review, we can start with the international literature review. In my study, I used ISO, IEC, and IEEE standards first, and for the European CEN and CENELEC. However, there are many other organizations as well which make local standardization or standardization for specific technology, like ASHRAE, which works on heating, refrigerating, and air conditioning. BACI, ITU, which specifically work for telecommunication. DIN is for Germany. ASTM, which is American Society for Technical and Materials, and JIS for Japanese Industrial Standards. The second part is survey and comparative analysis. Once we are done with the cross-disciplinary review, we know the gaps with one another, and we also know the advancement, the technology advancements. Next part is do survey and interviews. By conducting these surveys and interviews with various stakeholders, we can actually find gap. A very interesting project that was done in Ireland on the same area I was working on was in Dingle, and that pilot project was not successful. And the reason was the issues with the stakeholders. Every stakeholder wanted a different output, and it was not a successful project as it was expected to be. So if we want to have a new pilot project, we can go to these stakeholders, we can talk to them and see what is the missing link of not being successful. Third is global versus local dynamic. Consider the impact of globalization. We can consider local environmental condition, cultural aspects, and economic factors in it. Third is having a pilot project. So in this pilot project, we can have a new pilot project we can conduct in our proposals, in our research, or we can review one of the pilot studies that are already happened where they have used standards and have applied to novel situations and technologies. It should be then tested to a real world testing. So pilot project is exposing these new technologies to actual conditions. Will be able to see the practical issues and performance limitations by having pilot projects, and it will help us to identify gap as well. And the last is diverse feedback. By involving these stakeholders, again, we'll be able to see unfrozen problems and user needs which we are not able to see, and that may not be addressed by the existing standards. And we can raise when we are doing the revision of the same existing standards or propose a new standards with our national standard body. Next is policy and regulations. Standards are often related with policies and regulations as well. So we need to study, if you are a researcher, you can also start with studying policies and regulation of the same standards that you want to work on. Regulatory changes can prompt the revision of new standards as well. When you are reading a regulation, you can find a missing link between a regulation and a standard, and that's how you can find another technological advancement or standards which needs to be revised. And fifth is social economic impacts, which are directly related to the sustainable development goals. As Barry was indicating in his presentation, how SDGs sustainable development goals are important and how they are linked with the standards. So we can also see the gaps with the social economic impacts. If we have a standard and it is not able to link with SDGs, we can see how it can be linked and how a specific standard can help in promoting these SDG goals. Second is consumer behavior and expectations. Changes in consumer preference, such as growing preference of ethically sourced and manufactured products, drive the need for new standards, that ensures transparency, ethical sourcing, and fair trade practices. Sixth is collaboration with standards organization, which is a very important point. Having an active participation in your standards organization. In Ireland, we have National Standards Authority of Ireland. I started working with NSAI in 2021 in parallel with my PhD, and you just don't have to observe there. You start with an active participation in these technical committees, and this could also start by writing some white papers, presenting findings, or joining standard committees. Then influence the agenda. As a researcher can work to influence the agenda of standard organization as well, where you can highlight the importance of certain gaps that need to be included in the standards. And the last is publication of these your findings. First of all, you can go to your standards organization and you can share by your formal presentation, written communication, or participation in committee meetings. Or you can also have it in academic journals. You can get it published. And the third is having a white paper or a report. An interesting white paper that we are currently writing is of digital twin. Digital twin already have a technical committee and some standards already published, but as the advancement, as the technology is changing day by day, we are including some case studies specific to energy system. So this is a collaboration project which is done by BSI and the standard organization in Japan, and other countries as well is also helping them for this white paper. And this white paper can help the standards to evolve and revise in it, because we are using a lot of case studies and we are trying to find what are the issues and what are the gaps in it, and we'll also give some recommendation in it. So this is how this all can get related. So this was the methodology. This methodology was actually adopted in one of the project of innovating local energy markets through standardization. So this project focused on exploration of these standards, policy, and regulation frameworks. I included all these in local electricity energy markets. When I started doing my PhD, I did not plan for using standards, but when I started working on it, I realized that local energy market is evolving and it is changing, and it is not yet implemented in a lot of pilot projects. Like the standards are not there, even the policy and the regulations are not fixed for local energy markets. So this is how we can actually make an impact from our research by being a part of standards. So I started exploring these, and the scope was to identify the gaps and to propose these innovation solutions so that it can be implemented in the standards in revising the previous standards, or if it is not suitable for any existing standard, it can be presented as a new standards. So the case study that I had was on a paradigm shift of energy sector. We used to have centralized generation with unidirectional power flow, but now we are having a lot of distributed energy resources. What are distributed energy resources? It is basically small renewable energy sources such as solar rooftop or small wind turbine that we have connected in our distribution network, and it makes us presumer. And presumer is a term which is used for both producer and consumer, and it is known as presumer. It is by using this kind of system, presumers are able to sell back to the grid, and the grid gives some kind of money or tokens to the user. But what is the future? The future is kind of energy trading, or known as peer-to-peer energy trading, or some other new local energy markets. Here, the presumers are able to sell and consumers buy from these presumers rather than getting from the grid. How does it work? So before, we used to install solar rooftop in our premises, and we used to give it to the grid, or we used to use it first and it got deducted from our electricity bill. But what is peer-to-peer energy trading? Instead of sending it directly to the grid or connected directly to the grid, we have a network of all the houses, and it supplies electricity to one another. And why do they do it? So if I'm a consumer who does not have a solar rooftop, I can save my electricity bill. And if I'm a presumer who is already having a solar rooftop, I can generate more revenue as compared to the revenue that I was getting when I was connected to the grid. It also reduces the distribution and transmission losses, because we used to have it from a generation point which was very far from our households, and then it used to get transmitted and distributed to our household. But here we are trying to generate our own electricity and sending in our neighborhood. It also helps to reduce the dependency on the fossil-based fuel plants, and it also helps the grid and the distribution system operators. So, the standards used for these were three main standards which were directly connected to this. First is CENELEC EN 50438, which works on grid connection requirements for distributed generation. Next is IEC 62746, which is on interoperability framework for demand response and distributed energy resources. And last is IEC 62559, which is use cases of energy management. They were directly related to peer-to-peer energy trading, but other than these three, there were a lot of indirectly connection of a lot of standards which are already published, which can be used for peer-to-peer energy trading. And by studying all these standards, there were some four major gaps that I was able to identify. First was lack of specificity for distributed energy exchange. Second is the limited focus on peer-to-peer energy trading. None of the standards were discussing directly on peer-to-peer energy trading or any kind of energy trading. They were mostly influenced by virtual power plants, which are already there in our system. Third is insufficient guidance on network constraints, as we are changing our distribution network when we are generating electricity near our household. There are a lot of network constraints. So there's an insufficient guidance for these network constraints. And the fourth is integration of multiple distributed energy resources. So the methodology that was applied was similar to the one that were discussed in the previous slide. I started with doing a comprehensive literature review and some case study by analyzing the real world pilot projects which were already there, not only in Ireland, but across the world. And then I was able to have a comparative analysis, and I was able to identify the gaps of these pilot projects. And this was also related to policy and the regulations. So I did similar analysis for policies. What are the policies across Europe which helps in implementing more local energy markets, and how can we actually implement these same policies in other countries as well? What is lacking, and what are the regulations that are already present, and what should be implemented in the future? So the key findings were two. First was identification of these insufficient frameworks for decentralized energy exchange, and the need for enhanced guidance. And the solution given was to provide to propose new frameworks. So in my study, I gave some of the suggestions of how the local energy market, not specifically peer-to-peer energy trading, but local energy market system can be implemented in the distribution network, and how can it help in improving interoperability and efficiency in the system. So the technology used for this study was game theory. In game theory, I considered three types, which was strategic decision making, cooperative, and competition. And competition are also sometimes known as non-cooperative game theory. And it resulted in market dynamics. So the dynamics in the market for consumer and prosumers were changed. Pricing mechanisms, they all were able to have higher revenue as compared to the models that were already there in the system. Incentive structure that maximized efficiency and fairness, and participation in peer-to-peer energy trading. So the results that we got was successful implementation and scalability for peer-to-peer energy trading. It enabled a lot of stakeholders, policymakers, and industry players to adopt standardization. From a market perspective, it opened new avenues for energy consumers, prosumers, and DSOs in local energy markets, and it empowered individuals and communities as well, where they were able to have more job creation, and they were able to have more local economic development by these kind of system. On a societal level, we were able to contribute to sustainable development goals as well. We were able to reduce carbon emissions. So related to the social impact, the study was directly linked with the Sustainable Development Goal SDG 7, which works on affordable and clean energy, as we were using renewable energy. SDG 9, which was on industrial innovation and infrastructure. SDG 10 on reduced inequalities, where everyone was getting equal opportunity to sell electricity and receive electricity. SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, where we were able to develop more good communities where they are using more renewable energy, clean energy. And SDG 13, climate action, because it is all we were able to reduce carbon emissions as well. So the conclusion that we got from the study was, number one, enhanced innovation. We were able to have more innovation as researchers and developers. We were able to identify that gap and fill that gap by giving our recommendation. Second is improved safety and quality. Third is operational efficiency, where we have our clear and current standards, streamlined production, and we were able to where we were able to increase the efficiency of the local energy markets present. Next was market expansion. The market got increased by usage of more renewable energy, by usage of more distributed energy resources. Facilitating cutting edge research. We were able to facilitate these new research technologies to a lot of consumers, and this was done on Aran Islands. It is a small island at near Galway, and accelerate adoption of these emerging technologies. In the end, I want to let you know about the Young Professional Program that IEC, International Electrotechnical Commission, does every year. So every year they select two participants from every country, and they invite them for journal meeting. So this is the Young Professional Workshop, and all these are young professionals from all the countries, and we were able to get a chance to talk to the experts there. The IEC also taught us how to make standards, how to do conformity assessment, and identify gaps as well. So this was a 5-day workshop specially designed not only for researchers, but for anyone who is new to standards and want to understand how standards are made, and who wants to get more information about what are standards. This young professional workshop is for age 25 to 35. And we also have Ireland Young Professional Network here, where there's a network where we are able to connect with our current and former YPs. This network also gives a chance to join national committees and technical committees and working groups. We also have roundtable workshop with different countries. So in the end of Jan, we will be having a roundtable workshop with Germany, where we will be discussing artificial intelligence, and regular meetups as well. Thank you for listening to me, and this is my email ID and LinkedIn. If anyone have query after the session as well, I'll be happy to answer now.
Thank you, Sweta. Now, once again, I'm going to share my screen and ask you to answer the question related to Sweta's presentation. The code is on the slide. Hopefully you can see it. The code is actually 87399038. And our question is, name a first step you would take to identify gaps in current standards landscape. So I'm going to read the code one more time. 87399038. 8. We're waiting for responses. Okay. We have something. Standards review. Include stakeholders in a pilot project, standards review, contact NSB, literature review, joint standards committee. Sweta, would you like to comment?
Yes, of course. I think these all are well connected with each other. So to start with, we can, of course, have literature review first to see what are existing standards, but one can also start by joining standards committee if one is a part of any technical committee or subcommittee that will allow the researcher to access all the existing standards, and then he or she can also find the gaps in it. So literature review and joining standards committee and getting involved in NSB is the first step.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ivana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for those wonderful presentations. Thank you. And now we have a short Q&A sessions. I have a question for Barry and Sweta. So, Barry, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, and Sweta, I think the first question is maybe for Barry. What can national standardization bodies do to accelerate the development of standards? Time can be one of the limiting factors for researchers, and developing standards is time consuming. Do you have any
It is, unfortunately, that is beyond my powers. If I could make it fast in any way, definitely, but it's a process, and the whole meaning of ISO is actually a Greek word meaning consensus. So consensus has to be reached. It's about getting all the stakeholders in agreement. It's about reaching consensus and making sure that everyone is happy with it, and that does take time. So it can't be too quick. But if in order to progress it, if you engage outside of committee meetings with the different stakeholders, if you communicate more, if we have a lot of time as well having in-person meetings, more gets decided outside in the coffee room. So rather than be quiet at meetings, go and interact with stakeholders, email them, tell them what you're going to present, and it'll just make that getting consensus a lot easier, and that will speed up the process. So it's not really what standards bodies can do, it's what researchers and people on the committee can do as well, because it's not just NSBs.
Oh, so you just pointed at your presentation that your task is to manage experts.
Exactly.
So the other part of the story, it is not only task of national standardization bodies. So we can understand national standardization bodies as frameworks for work. So it's not only the idea that national standardization bodies are working of all. So the experts and skill of experts should be, let's say, addressed in that point too.
Exactly. It's about everyone coming together for the greater good.
Okay, thank you so much. Sweta, do you have any ideas how to, what can National Standardization Body do to accelerate the development of standards?
Actually, I totally agree with one of the points that Barry said. I agree with all the points, but one of the points that he said is like most of the decisions are made during coffee. So because every time we reach a point that everyone is saying different point, and we are not able to have a conclusion to that. So everyone tries to go for a coffee, and then they are able to find the consensus while having coffee. So that is a good point that he said. But For accelerating standards, I think it takes time because there's a lot of revision that is going on, and we can just have specific times. We can give time to each country to comment on the standards. So that time, if someone wants to accelerate that process, that time can be decreased, I guess.
So correct me if I'm wrong, conclusion would be informal communication is very important too. Okay, and question for Sweta. How did you acquire the standards you need for the gap analysis? Standards can be pricey, and this is regular question. To the best of your knowledge, what should be done to make standards, accessible to researchers and free of charge?
Okay, so I'll answer the first part of the question first. How did I get access to the standards was I started doing my PhD in 2020, and when I started it, I did not think about using standards until unless in 2021 I got to know about National Standards Authority of Ireland, and I was related. My work was related to TC20, which was on smart grids and electric vehicles and energy efficiency. I contacted the standards officer, which was handling TC20, and I requested that I'm a researcher and I want to be a part of the technical committee. And like the final goal was to get the access to the standards as well as get the experience, get more knowledge, because there are experts sitting in that in the room when they are making standards. So you'll always learn something as a researcher when you are doing PhD. Of course, they know more, but there are always some insights that you can give with new advancement, new technologies that you are working on. I believe there are some standards which are available for free, which some of the standards were pointed out by Barry in his presentation, and he also goes to the university to promote usage of standardization. I guess, Barry, do you want to tell some of the standards which are accessible?
Yeah. So we have different packages of standards, which are highlighted being more important, that are cheaper to buy. But what we try and do as well, we have communications with our provider of standards, and we try and come up with different license agreements and different new ways. And we talk to universities. So for some of our universities, they would pay a fee. Sometimes it's a small fee. I'm not sure exactly of the amount it is, because with inflation, it may go further down next year. But the universities would pay for it, and then I go around and I talk to students in different times, and I promote this, that please contact the head of the librarian, go to your library. Your university's paying a lot of money. You can get access to these standards and use it, because in some cases the universities are paying a lot of money, but the researchers aren't using it. And in some cases as well, the researchers really want to use the standards, but the universities, they don't have the agreement there. So I try and go around and facilitate that and the uptake of standards. But yeah, I think one of the best ways as well that Sveta was talking to is when it gets to a good stage, when it gets to the draft international standard stage, it goes up on a website. Your standards, your say, and anyone in Ireland can go in, they can download the draft, they can save it, and they can comment on it. But it's a great access that at this draft's international standard stage, because at the next stage, you can't make any technical comments, and it goes for publication. So later on, you can go on, you can download it, and for free, you have a draft international standard that you can refer to and use in your research.
So basically, contact with National Standardization Body, look at the site, see what is in public inquiry, and practically hands on the table. Is that the key message? Thank you both. We are running out of time. Thank you both for your wonderful presentation, and I hope to see you soon in other activities. I would like to share my screen and share with you some other information. So basically, Thank you to our trainers, Barry Cox and Dr. Sweta Malik, were today with us and provide us very nice information about work of National Standardization Body of Ireland and impact on research of Sweta Malik too. I would like to just inform you that you can watch our last training session on our training academy, and please be aware of our training material that is already posted in HSbooster training session. So I would like just to inform you or to remind you that we publish standardization orientation tool. This is our new online resources to increase expertise on standardization. It's practically standardization self-assessment tool. QR code is here, and you have a website. You can use our standardization orientation tool to take first steps toward informed standardization strategies, and it is intended to be used for ongoing research projects and in research project proposal writing. And it takes only 5 to 10 minutes to get the first information where to go in standardization. I would like just to remind you to our Norma. So if you have any questions, you can use Norma too. Who is Norma? Norma is a chat box bot powered by artificial intelligence, and it is ready to provide you quick and easily digestible information. So please keep an eye on our website. In the right corner, you can find Norma. You can ask Norma whatever you want, but please give her some time and she will become more accurate and able to answer a new question. So last but not least, I would like to close this session, and on behalf of all partners of HSbooster and our all trainers, I just want to say that we wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. See you soon in our next training session, and see you soon in next year. Happy New Year and all the best. Have a nice day.